This month we're talking about purpose, transcendent purpose. And I always feel like those are big words, like transcendent purpose. And today's talk is titled something even more audacious, the purpose that surpasses all. You know, you read that title and you think, ooh, this is a big talk I got to come up with. The purpose that surpasses all, everything. And it actually wasn't that hard, because guess what the purpose that transcends, is above, is beyond everything else? Guess what it is? You guys are so fun. You're so well prepared. It's your purpose. It's your calling. That's the one that transcends all for you, that surpasses all for you and for your life. And I heard love, and I heard peace, and I heard joy, and y'all were telling on yourselves, knowing the qualities that you value the most. And that's good stuff, right? But almost certainly, there's someone, probably at least 3 or 30, people here and online that are like, what do you mean the call? What do you mean the calling on my life? Those are, like saints and ministers get called, you know, politicians that lead revolutions get called. I'm just, I'm a grandma. What on earth is a calling? A calling, we might call it a divine calling, your transcendent purpose, your life purpose, is the answer to the question, what is mine to do? And we get that question all the time, right? And Spirit puts that right into your heart. What is yours to do? We can sometimes miss it because we make the language so big and so fancy. But when we listen within, when we get quiet and listen within, there are certain desires, ideas, beliefs, urges, pulls that just won't go away. They just won't, they just won't shut up. Anybody ever had that thing that just nudges and nudges and pulls, and you can have all of the excuses in the world. It's not the right time. I don't have the money. I'm too busy. My kids need me at home. The list I'm giving is the list that I gave why I couldn't go to ministerial school. It sounds hard. It kind of was, but we lived through it. And still, the pull. And I believe everyone has something like that is just nudging. And we can tend to push it away. But here's the good news. When we say yes to that call, when we open up and say yes to that call, all of the reasons we couldn't do it start to fall away. Because Spirit has this amazing self-fulfilling function where when we say yes and lean in, synchronicities start happening. Maybe someone else is going to, in my case, ministerial school, and sometimes you can share rides. Maybe, in my case, my teenage children had a family meeting to discuss how sad and pathetic it was going to be when they finally graduated from high school, and we needed to worry about how mom was going to be a basket case. And it turned out they were thrilled I had something to do because they had imagined me sitting at home in a corner crying. I think I probably was safe from that outcome. Resources show up. Extra money appears to pay for things. Every little excuse which we call logic, yes, we call thinking reasonably, they begin to fall away. And connections are made that we couldn't possibly have foreseen because we're following the call that Spirit has put on our heart. Now, if this language feels excessive, that's okay. It can feel a little grandiose sometimes, right? Spirit has put a call upon my heart, and now I must run a marathon. I'm not me, that's somebody else's. But sometimes that language gets in our way of being able to see what is ours at all. That ever happen to anybody? Where you're wondering, I like to joke about this, when is Jesus gonna come down from on high in bodily form and turn to me and say, Leslie, you are to become a swimsuit model? It never happened. He never showed up and talked to me in that way. But it doesn't have to be that complicated. It doesn't have to be grandiose. It doesn't have to be complex. The reading we just heard included to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition. This is to have succeeded. This is to have followed that call in your heart. When I was in 7th grade, I found that quote. It was erroneously attributed to Ralph Waldo Emerson, which you will find all over the internet, and that's wrong. It was by Bessie Anderson Stanley. And I wrote this quote out on one of those big pieces of cardboard, and I tacked it up on my wall. This is going to be my guiding light. And it stayed there all the way through college. It moved houses with me. This is to have succeeded, to have caused even one person to have breathed easier, is to have succeeded, is to have followed that call. I teach a class. I teach it about every other year. And one of those times, a gal who I knew reasonably well approached me and said, I'd really love to take your classes, and I was thinking about taking this one, but I am retired. The class is called Living My Life Purpose, and I'm not looking for a new career. I'm not looking to change my world entirely. I just want to be with my grandkids, be a really good grandma and a really good mom to my grown kids, and enjoy my husband and travel. That's all I want to do. Would your class make any sense to me? And I said, how do you feel in your heart when you think about spending time with your grandchildren and traveling with your husband? And she said, oh, it just lights me up on the inside. And I said, then that is your purpose. Are you interested in exploring how you can live that more fully? And guess what? She took the class. We talk all the time about stepping into the big, exciting new thing, and that's really valuable. The book you've been meaning to finish writing, feel free to hold me accountable, but I am taking my sweet time with that book. The career you've wanted to burst into, the relationship your heart yearns for. Absolutely. Go for those big things when they come. But if your heart's calling is to grow the ripest, juiciest organic tomato that this planet has ever seen and enjoy it in a lovely caprese salad, invite me to share that salad, because that sounds lovely. But honor that as the calling that it is. It does not have to be something that's going to make the nightly news to be valuable. Our passions, our desires, our interests are clues that Spirit is giving us to guide us toward that which is our deepest calling. And right underneath those ideas and passions are our values. And what you will find is that they sync up. Our values are placed in us uniquely by the divine right into our hearts. There's a reason some of us are so driven by love, and some of us are so driven by peace, and some of us are so driven by creativity. And we can't always see what another sees. Reverend Karen said to me the other day, I did not pass this by her, by the way. She said to me the other day, I love how you approach knitting. It's how you approach everything. You get interested and then shwoomph. You're all the way in it. And it's true, when it comes to creative things, my soul doesn't matter what I'm creating, if it's a Sunday talk or a baby sweater or a really lovely piece of jewelry. Creativity is a guiding value of mine, and it was in me before I hit this planet. My parents were very dismayed at how very many crafting supplies I went through as a child, and how quite a mess I made with them. And it's the same now. If you walk into my living room, everything's nice, and then there's Leslie's corner with just a mound of yarn and tools, and it's just, bless Bobby's heart, he just knows that's part of being married to me, is the pile of crafting supplies. And your values aren't any different. Whatever yours is, I'm willing to bet it is leading you into your choices. People ask, really quite often, what is God's plan for me? What is God's purpose for me? What am I supposed to be doing? And the only thing that Spirit is asking of us is to be fully expressed, to show up all the way as we are. It's the only way Spirit can ever show up quite like that, quite exactly like that, is if you take what is in you and walk it out. Marianne Williamson said in A Return to Love, one of my favorite books of all time, the purpose of our lives is to give birth to the best which is within us. And the best which is within us is crying to be let out, to be thought of as important enough to deserve the time and the resources and the energy to be born, to show up, to be a part of life. So I invite you to just close your eyes and feel into what that value is, what that desire is that most wants to be lived out through you in this moment. Is it balance or beauty, love or peace, freedom, creativity? Just touch base with that value. And then come on back into this space. When we're talking about transcendent purpose, what we're talking about is taking that piece of ourselves that is so connected to the oneness within that it fairly bursts out of our beingness, and living it in a way that shifts the way the planet operates. And remember to have known that one life breathed easier, that one piece of nature reestablished itself, that one person found a piece of truth they didn't know before after meeting you. Each of those things shift the vibration of the planet. The world is not going to be healed by one person standing up and informing us how it's all supposed to go. Goodness knows, lots have tried. It doesn't typically go so very well for them. What heals the world is millions and millions and millions of people making little decisions, small steps that make their hearts sing. And when hearts sing, there is more kindness, there is more joy, and there is, in fact, more peace. The transcendent is reaching for the higher ground, reaching for that bigger peace, that highest love, yes? That we talk about so often here. And so there are 3 things that you can do to take what feels like your little purpose and reach for that transcendence. The first one is to define success for yourself, as did Bessie Anderson Stanley. Define it for yourself, because the culture at large is going to tell you, this is not news, it's about how much money you make, it's about how famous you are, it's about the way other people look to you and change their behavior on a massive scale. It's about how important your title is, right? We've all heard those messages, explicitly or implicitly. If we've ever watched anything from the nightly news to Beverly Hills 90210, it really mattered who was prom queen that year. But when we define success for ourselves as improvement in a skill, as a stronger ability to stay kind when things get hard, as a willingness to believe that peace is possible, as a deeper walking out of the values that you've claimed, that is success. That is profound success. And it's a kind of success that not that many people are even trying to emulate. What would your life be like if you decided to go all in on what you really value, independent of what anybody else thought or thought was important? When you're defining success for yourself, it's easy to remember that when we hit the inevitable valleys or boulders that are everywhere, and we all do. I just unraveled an entire panel of a jacket I'm making, knitting, because I forgot to change needle sizes. Oh, right? Boulder. Boulder. Did I give up knitting? No. Earlier today, in an attempt to be a little too controlling about the exact positioning of these beautiful flowers, I walked into this, just walked into it and fell. Those who saw it, it was epic, right? Did I go home in shame and say, I can't speak, I can't even be on the platform? No, we're gonna hit things like that, we are. When we are on purpose, when we're on our calling, it's easy for us to remember that those are temporary and not nearly as important as our ego makes us believe. It doesn't matter. We take a breath, we shake it off, we start again. The second thing we can do is to make the decision to stay true to those values. Not just when it's a boulder or a valley, but when it's an explosion. So it's been a week in the world. Take a breath. When I said, you know what your values are, I heard a lot of love out of this room. Which makes sense because we talk about it all the time here. Revealing the power of love is our vision, and we take it very seriously here. The idea that love is the solution to any problem. And this year, this week, a man named Charlie Kirk was murdered in front of a live crowd that included his wife and his small child. And this might be a person who you listened to all the time and really valued. And this might be a person who you hated, who you thought was causing damage on the planet, who you thought was inciting violence. But love doesn't ask for opinions. And there were lots of responses along the lines of, I don't want anybody to be killed by gun violence. I really feel for that little child who has to live with the trauma of watching her dad die because of what he believed and what he said. And there were a whole lot more saying, he got what he deserved. He said gun violence was inevitable, and he got taken out by gun violence. And I don't need to argue about what a valid choice is or what a valid opinion is, because we all live on our own hearts and our own minds, and we all get to decide that for ourselves. But it was a really good opportunity for those of us who say love is our leading value to check in with how we're doing with that. Because while we might have really awesome brain opinions about something, if we say we're against gun violence, then we have to be against all gun violence, or we're not telling the truth. If there's a part of you this week that has felt out of integrity, a little, that's how it feels like to me when I feel out of integrity, on the inside of myself. It's a sign that you have stepped away from your own guiding value. And I'm not here to tell you you're wrong for doing that at all. I'm here to invite you to check in on the inside of yourself and just ask, am I walking out words or social media posts that reflect who I think I am? This can be a hard question sometimes, but we are strong and we are resilient. And when we have fallen on the platform or fallen off of our value set, we can brush it off and start again. It's transcendent because it is above the petty. It's transcendent because it is connected to the oneness that connects us all. This is what I'm calling myself to. I hope it's what you're calling yourself to in your way around your value and the situations that impact it. And the third thing we can do, and goodness, I hope we're doing it, is to lean into our faith. To trust that the things that we cannot put back together ourselves, that grace is doing for us, to open up and say, I am willing to see this differently. I am willing to be shown. I am willing to be healed, because at that point, Spirit does it. Spirit does it for us, and then Spirit does it through us. Thank goodness, as Daniel Nahmod said in that wonderful song, I don't have to know. God knows. If we had to wait until we knew entirely ourselves what to do and how, none of this would exist. Spirit is right there on the inside of ourselves, guiding us to whatever we are willing to see. So remember who you are, use your tools, and when in doubt, get your tuchus back in the prayer chair. I want to conclude with a line from the beloved poet Mary Oliver. I do seem to sneak her in whenever I have a chance. And she said, tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Who is it you plan to be with this precious life? And so the call to action, I think this week, is very clear. To connect with those values that you hold so preciously. And lean in your spiritual work to align your mind and your actions with those values. I will certainly be in my prayer chair as well. And so it is. Let's anchor this in with some prayer. How good it is to just take a breath and remember that right where we are, Spirit is, the beloved, the one mind, the infinite intelligence, that is all love, all peace, all joy, all possibility. And what I know is that as Spirit made everything and everyone, here I am speaking this prayer. So I have to be a part of it. That goodness, that infinite goodness that is the divine dwells in me. That those qualities I seek are built into my very DNA. And as I know this for myself, I know it's the truth of everyone within the sound of my voice, because it's the truth of everyone. Even people I don't understand, even people I actively don't like, even people I disagree with on a fundamental level, each is the beloved in unique form. And so I just speak my word, claiming that love is bigger than any hate, that peace is bigger than any anger, that wholeness is bigger than any diagnosis, that there is more than enough of every good thing, and abundance is bigger than lack. And that each beloved that opens their heart is met with a yes from the universe. And that good is pouring into each and every life right here, right now. That whatever is ready to be healed is being met with that sweet grace, even in this moment. And I'm so grateful to know it. I'm so grateful to live a life that continually reminds me that I don't have to do it on my own, that Spirit is right here, always, always. That Spirit is everywhere, always. And so I release this word of healing into the action of universal law, knowing it is done, as we say together, and so it is.